Hi, and welcome to today's Biznology Digital Marketing Webinar. I'm Peter Methot, Director of Marketing and Program Development for Rutgers Center for Management Development. Rutgers CMD has been recognized internationally as one of the top U.S. university-based executive education organizations by the Michigan Business School Report. Today you'll be hearing from Rob Petersen and Mike Moran, who will present 12 myths versus realities of SEO. But before we do, we need to recognize our sponsors. First, Fundraisers, a full-service digital and social media solutions company that builds brands using proven relationship principles and ROI. Marketing Pilgrim, the internet and social media marketing news blog. We cut through the bull so you don't have to. Rutgers Center for Management Development, executive education with New Jersey roots and global reach. Unison, the unagency, your secret weapon in the noisy world of 21st century brand communications. As we wait for more attendees to join, let me review the format for our webinar. Our Biznology webinars last just 30 minutes, so you can easily fit them into your busy schedule. We record each webinar, and we'll email you that link later this week. During our speakers' presentations, you can use GoToWebinar to ask a question. That orange arrow opens and closes your controls. If you have a question, simply type it into the box labeled questions at any time during the event and press the send button. I will select a few questions at the end of our webinar and pose them to Mike and Rob. While we're waiting for the last few attendees to join, I'll remind you that the Biznology newsletter and blog are available for free at biznology.com. So if you're not already a subscriber, we hope that you'll sign up now. And thanks again to all of you for spending 30 minutes with us. We know how valuable your time is, so let's introduce today's speakers. Mike Moran is the founder of the Biznology blog, a well-known expert in all things digital marketing and senior strategist at Conversion, a leading social consultancy. Mike is the co-author of Search Engine Marketing Incorporated and the sole author of Do It Wrong Quickly, How the Web Changes the Old Marketing Rules. Mike is a veteran of IBM, managing groups in IBM.com for 8 years, retiring from IBM in 2008 as a distinguished engineer. Rob Petersen is president of Fundraisers, a full-service digital marketing solutions company that builds brands using proven relationships, principles, and ROI. Rob has been recognized by the American Marketing Association for building several billion-dollar businesses. Both Rob and Mike are longtime instructors for our program at the Rutgers Center for Management Development. So if you've ever struggled with finding the truth about SEO, this is the webinar for you. Rob, take it away.
Thanks, Peter, and welcome to everybody who's listening. Since today's program is about myths and realities of search engine optimization, let me start with one reality, and that is, the fact is that if you have a website, more traffic is going to come to that website by people who are typing what they need into the query box of a search engine than any other way. That's proven by every single research that's been done on the subject of how you get traffic to a website. And the truth is that 4 out of 5 people, when they get to that search page, will pick on a website that is on the natural or organic side of search. Over a third will pick on the website in the top position, and just about all the clicks will have occurred by the time people are through with the first page. So that says that if you're going to have a website and do business on the internet, search engine optimization is one of the most important things for you to do. But that also leads to people having a lot of opinions and advice of what you need to do to get your search engine to a top position for the keywords that matter for you most. So today, next slide, Mike. Mike Moran and I are going to have a classic point-counterpoint discussion on 12 myths versus realities on search engine optimization, just like they do on the news and just like they do on comedy shows. What we're going to do is one by one, each of us will alternate taking one of the myths and then the other will respond with a viewpoint of their own. So let's get right into it, Mike. First, myth versus reality number 1. A good web design firm is also likely to be an SEO expert. Could happen, but not likely. Because when you're building a website and you're thinking about SEO, for SEO, there's an important process to recognize, and that process involves some distinct steps. You need to do keyword research to understand what are the words that are going to drive that your audience is looking for. You're going to need to do link analysis to find other authorities that are speaking about the same topic that you are and build relationships with them. You're going to need to have a content marketing strategy and a steady content plan so that you're keeping your keywords and your links fresh with the search engines and with your consumers. And finally, you're going to need to have a way of measuring and reporting what your progress is going to be. These are steps that search engine experts are great at, and they just really kind of fall outside the purview of a web design firm. That's really why this is myth number one. Mike?
Thanks, Rob. So I actually agree with this myth. I think that a lot of people believe this, but it isn't true. What I think is starting to happen is that more and more web design firms are starting to realize the need for SEO, and they're starting to hire people who can help them with this kind of area. But I think in general, you're right, this isn't true. Myth number two, SEO is about meta tags, metadata, and code. This one's a little trickier because this one used to be a lot more true than it is. I mean, the truth is that SEO was never only about these things. It's always been about the quality of your content rather than just your code. But in the old days, and I'm old enough to remember the old days, there were very important things you had to do in your code in order to make sure that your content was really coming up where it needed to. Your title tag is still critically important, but the description tag is not as important as it used to be. The keywords meta tag isn't important at all. And so there's been a lot of changes in SEO over the years where if you really focus on your content and still focus on your title tag, worrying about some of the other meta tags isn't as important as it used to be. So, Rob, I don't know if you're going to call me an ignorant slut after that one, but for the record, I would like everyone to know I am not ignorant.
Thanks, Mike. And I just would add to that that the reason that is started to change is that basically what happened over time is that the meta tags and metadata was just so overly inundated by spammers that the search engines actually got smarter about recognizing real legitimate content that was occurring, and that's how things have started to evolve out of just meta tags and metadata. Myth number three, SEO deals with website modifications. No question about it. Architecting your website well for SEO is really critically important, as well as keeping up with what are search volumes for some of the keywords and links for authorities that are important to you. But there's also an offsite component, and that's really just making sure that you're keeping up relationships with those authorities in your categories, like maybe bloggers who blog on topics that are important for your business, and commenting on their blogs, or doing social media outreach that also is ways of driving traffic to your website. Mike?
I agree with that one too. This thing that that has happened more and more, which dovetails with what you said earlier, Rob, is that SEO used to be more about what happens on the page, and more it's starting to happen off the page. So things like link analysis, which has been true for a while, but also other areas like social media activity. So if we look at myth 4, SEO involves tricking the search engines. Well, for some people it does. I mean, there are so-called black hat SEOs, spammers, that are out there that are trying to trick the search engines. They're very smart. They work very hard. There are still some successful ones out there, although it's harder to do than it used to be. But here's why I'll call this one a myth, too. It's because for everyone here on the call, even though there are some people out there that can trick the search engines, I'll bet none of them are you. I don't think this is your way of working, because I got news for you, folks. If you're smart enough to be able to trick the search engines, you're really wasting your time listening to Rob and me today. You got much better things you can do with your time. We're not going to help you with any of those kinds of things, and those aren't the kinds of facts that show up on webinars. So what I would say is that when we talk about black hat versus white hat SEO, what's really going on here is it's the difference between you doing something that works only for you or doing something that will work for the searcher and the search engine too. When you do something the white hat way, which is following the terms and conditions of the search engines, and everything you're doing is for the benefit of the searcher, for Google, and for you, then you're going to see things that last for a long time. If you go the black hat way, Google is going to make it their business to stop whatever it is you're doing from working, and over time, they're usually successful. What do you think of this one, Rob?
I totally agree with you on this one, Mike. I mean, I just think black hats just fought with risk, and white hats just ready to give rewards. So I totally agree on that one. Number 5, Google is the only search engine that matters. Well, if 2/3 of your audience, this is from the UK search, but in the US, 2/3 of all searches are done on Google, and the other third is done on Bing and Yahoo. So if giving way to a third of your audience doesn't matter to you, then Google is the only search engine that matters. But with a third of searches done by Bing and Yahoo and other search engines, it's still important that your search strategy includes all the search engines. Mike?
I agree with you, Rob, except that there are some countries in which this one actually isn't a myth. I mean, if you go to Sweden, if you go to some other countries where Google has a 98% market share, you really can safely ignore some of the other search engines. But I think in general, you're right that especially in the U.S., where Bing and Yahoo have a 30% share, you can't ignore those search engines. If we move on to
Mike,
number
you're right.
6.
You're right on that. And also, I take back whatever somebody said about you on one of the earlier slides.
Okay, so myth number 6 is that duplicate content gets your site delisted. Duplicate content is something that there's all sorts of myth and legend around in the circles of SEO. What duplicate content actually means is that there are several web pages out there that all have pretty much the same content on it. It might not be exactly the same. It could be that the header looks different or the navigation looks different, but the meat of the page is pretty much the same. And this can happen all the time. It happens when blog posts are syndicated. It can happen on a large website when you might have content that's dynamically generated, and maybe you have different URLs that kind of generate the same content. And so the concern here is that duplicate content really gets penalized in some way by the search engine. I say it doesn't. I say that what's really happening is the search engines have gotten a lot better at only showing one version of the content. So when in the past you might see the same article show up multiple times on the search results screen, now you only see it once. And so some people have the idea that those other versions of the content are being suppressed in some way, and that's somehow bad. And I guess it's bad if you've got all sorts of syndicated content, but it's usually not bad in any other way. Google does a fairly good job of showing the best version of the content. So usually that's the first version. Sometimes it's the most popular site's version of it. But you shouldn't worry too much about duplicate content causing you a penalty. What you ought to worry about is if you have content duplicated across your sites, you've got 5 different URLs that are basically showing the same page, what you're really doing is fracturing the link power that's coming into your page, because if links are coming into multiple pages that Google thinks are different pages when they're actually the same page, you might want to use something called a canonical tag that will tell Google what the right URL is so that it can bring all of the links together into the right URL and give you the most power behind that one URL rather than multiple.
Yeah, this is probably the most controversial myth versus reality of the 12. So I just want to say a couple things to echo on what you said, Mike. And one is that the worst thing you can do is just put the same content on multiple pages of your own website. That's just not really helping you in any way possible. And that probably is the only instance, if you read the Google Webmaster blogs, of situations where your site might get, quote, delisted. Why this becomes a controversial one is that in today's in today's world, where there are so many people who drive website traffic through a blog, if your blog is good and you write original content, it's likely to be picked up by others and maybe listed multiple times. I'll give you an example. This particular webinar, 12 Myths versus Realities on SEO, was a blog on Biznology. It was also a blog on our website, Barn Raisers, and other websites picked it up. So right now, if you Google 12 Myths versus Realities on SEO, the whole first page would be people who have picked up or written that blog. Maybe it's kind of hurt maybe Mike or myself by not being the top position if we are or aren't, but it's helped with all the links that have been built by people who've picked it up. So it really is something where you need to kind of look at your goals, but it is very unlikely, unless you just write the same content on multiple web pages, that your website's going to be delisted by duplicate content. Number 7. Paid search helps organic search. Well, in a literal sense, they don't. I mean, there's nothing that you do when you buy paid search that's going to in any way, shape, or form help the work that goes into what you've done in keywords and links to get to a top position in organic. But on the other hand, if you are trying to get to somebody clicking you on the first page and you have 2 instances where you're listed, it will drive up your chances, perhaps, of being selected a bit more. Mike?
I agree with that, Rob. The one place that I think paid search can help organic search is one that people don't think of very often. So even though I agree with Rob that this is a myth, because people think that bidding on paid ads will help your organic search rankings, what is true is that if you co-optimize your landing pages, so you optimize your page for both for both organic and paid search, the same page, rather than having 2 different landing pages, typically, what you do for organic search will help you get quality score increases in paid search. And what you do in paid search to improve conversion will help your organic conversion as well. So that's the one area that I think can matter. Number 8, SEO happens quickly. You can tell just from this webinar that SEO is complicated enough that it takes a long time to learn. And so learning SEO takes a long time, but even more importantly, if you change your content, it can take some time for the search engine to pick up on the change. It takes even longer for that content to be considered high quality because it takes a while to attract links, to attract social media activity. And so a lot of things have to happen in order for SEO to work, so it can take a long time for it to get started. The good news is that once you get it going, it can work really, really well for a long time. What do you think, Rob?
Totally agree. And since I agree with that, but many people also just ask when this particular topic comes up, well, how long does it take? And I usually counsel people that it takes 2 to 6 months, really, depending on how much competition there is, particularly for a keyword that you're going after. So it also helps to maybe think about your keywords and divide them into groups and think about those that you can make maybe progress quicker with versus those that might take a little bit more time. Number 9. Once a site is optimized, well, this, of course, just doesn't make inherent sense. And just to really give some texture to it, really what is important, and this particularly gets back to refreshing your content and the importance of doing blogging and also getting social media outreach to a website, is that the search engines are kind of looking for. They really are trying to make the best match with sites that are active for how, quote, dynamic a site is and how much content is actually refreshed on a regular basis. So when you're doing something to your website that's constantly refreshing the keywords and also broadening the links that you have, then the search engines are almost saying that, hey, there's something going on with this particular website. I want to give it a little bit more increased importance. Mike?
Yeah, that makes sense, Rob. If you think that once a site is optimized you don't have to do anything else, then you really are missing a whole bunch of areas of SEO that have to do with showing what the quality of your site is. So attracting links, getting social media activity working, which we've mentioned a couple of times in the past. It's really hard for you to just set it and forget it, because what that really means is that there's no content changing around you. There's nothing that's going on in the marketplace of content that would cause your page to suddenly not be the one that's the best. And so that doesn't make any sense inherently. So if you look at 10, SEO software automates it all. Now this is a myth because it doesn't automate it all, but there are some people who have an opposite myth that say, well, SEO software is useless, and neither of those extremes are true. So there's a lot of good software out there that can help you to analyze what's going on. So it can help you understand how your page is being seen by the search engines or whether it's being seen at all. It can help you understand the level of quality, so it can show you how many links are out there to your pages. It can show you what kind of social media activity is going on around your pages. There's all sorts of analytical tools that can be really helpful, but that's all they are, tools. They don't actually change your page for you. They don't help you to necessarily understand what it is that you have to do, except by you analyzing it and looking at the data. They don't usually prescriptively tell you what the right thing is to do, and they certainly don't do it for you. Rob?
I totally agree, and just to add to that, one other area is that particularly with the content management platform WordPress, there have become some very good SEO plugins like Yoast and All-in-One SEO. But again, those things are good on a maintenance basis. None of those plugins will do any of the real spade work of finding the right keywords or getting the right links. People have to do that. Number 11. SEO, social media doesn't impact SEO. Well, this is one of the ones that I'll take the most violent exception with as being a myth, because actually as time goes by, social media is becoming more and more important to SEO, because really, as this chart shows, with social, SEO and social media optimization, whereas keywords are critical for SEO and social media, content is the means of incorporating those keywords in a way that really keeps your SEO fresh, vibrant, and also makes you be able to kind of go where the trends are going in terms of keyword search volume and links. Mike?
Well, I've already hit this one several times, so I'm not going to disagree with this one either. And if we move on to 12, to me this is the granddaddy of all the myths. Once you have a top search rank, business rolls in. Boy, if it was that easy. What's really true is there's so many ways that this might be false that it's hard to even list them all. But let's look at the three most important ways that this is a myth. The first is you might have a top rank for a search keyword that hardly anyone is searching for. This is usually a trick that unethical SEO consultants will do. They'll promise you a top rank and give you one that nobody cares about. If no one's searching for the word, who cares what your rank is? The second reason that this could be a problem is that you might not get any clicks. So you might have a search keyword that people are interested in, and you might get a top rank on it, but if your title isn't that good, if your snippet isn't that good, then you don't really have a call to action that makes people click on it. And if they're not clicking on it, you're not going to get any business. The last reason this could happen is you could get that top rank. You could get the top rank for a good keyword. You can even get clicks, but it doesn't mean people are guaranteed to buy. Your website could be so screwed up nobody's going to buy from you. But there's another problem that's actually an SEO problem that you need to be aware of, which is it could be that you have targeted the wrong keyword. Maybe this is a keyword that a lot of people would be interested in, but it may not lead them to buy from you. You might not be differentiated for this keyword in a way that your competitor might be. So for all those reasons, this is a huge myth. That's all the time we have for these slides. We're going to turn it over to Peter, and he's going to queue up some questions for us.
All right, thanks, Rob and Mike. I'm sure our attendees have a much stronger idea of the realities of SEO, but you didn't answer every question. So I've got several good questions from our audience teed up for you. And I'd like to remind our audience that it's not too late to ask your own question by typing into the questions box in your GoToWebinar controls. Before we get to the questions, I'd like to remind you that the Biznology team provides jumpstart workshops for corporations who want to apply what they learn directly to their own business and have their team create a plan for executive approval right in the workshop. Rob, Mike, and Tim Peter teach the Jumpstart workshop for search marketing, where within 1 week they can work on site at your company to give hands-on training and knowledge in digital marketing strategy and an SEO plan for a full year. So go to biznology.com/training for more information on all of the offerings. We've got a special offer for you. The first 3 companies who contact us now will receive a free 1-hour phone preview of their workshop. with a member of our Biznology team. You'll get a sneak peek at some of the subjects covered and get your questions answered on how the workshop can be customized for you. So I'm about to start firing questions at Rob and Mike, but we need to thank our sponsors once again. So first, Barn Raisers, a full-service digital and social media solutions company that builds brands using proven relationship principles and ROI. Marketing Pilgrim, the internet and social media marketing news blog. We cut through the bull so you don't have to. Rutgers Center for Management Development, executive education with New Jersey roots and global reach. And Unison, the unagency, your secret weapon in the noisy world of 21st century brand communications. So now on to your questions, and our first question is, this first question comes from, one second folks. All right, so the first question is, if the manufacturer and the distributors have the same info on their individual websites, is that not detrimental? And I think that refers back to the duplicate content.
So I'll grab that one. Okay. It is a problem. So if you have the same content as the manufacturer on your retail website, it's not going to help you to rank higher because the manufacturer is probably going to rank higher. And so retailers need to focus on changing the content so that it's a little more customized for their audience, and also adding things that a manufacturer might not have, such as ratings and reviews. Did you have more to add to that, Rob?
No, I think that's really the point on duplicate content, is that it just penalizes you because you might not be as high as the other person who's using it, and why take that chance?
Okay, thank you very much. And that question was from Susie. The next question is there a particular industry that is affected more by black hat marketing?
I'll take this one. I would say probably ones that maybe rely a little bit more on paid search, and maybe sometimes e-commerce businesses, because there is a feeling that they always have to be in a #1 position, because that's the only means that they have to sell their products. And so however you get there, that's the way to do it. But I can't really, I'm not, of course it really is so dependent on people and who run the businesses and their philosophies about SEO.
So this is a great one. Comes in as Google keeps changing its algorithms, how do you suggest that we keep abreast of what's going on?
I think that the most important thing is to focus on quality content. So if you're trying to keep abreast of the algorithm, you're just one step away from trying to figure out how to trick Google. So you shouldn't be trying to get link and social media activity just because it's going to help you with the search engines. So what that means is, if all you're trying to do is get links, there's lots of ways of getting links that aren't really ethical. And so focusing on exactly what they're looking for at any particular time doesn't make any sense. I mean, years ago, they weren't focusing on social media activity, and there were folks doing all sorts of crazy stuff with links to try and trick the search engine, and they were ignoring social completely. And then when Google changed and added social media activity to the ranking algorithm, all of those folks were left in the dust. And so if you put together really high-quality content, you're going to do well no matter what the search algorithm changes to. I mean, a couple of years ago, Google introduced human raters into the application, so into the ranking algorithm. So imagine how difficult it is to figure out how are you going to put low-quality content out there and fool human raters. It's probably not something that can be done very easily. And so focusing on quality, on really answering the question that the searcher has, and really showing off your expertise, that's the way to survive a change to any algorithm.
Yeah, and I would just add that think of it almost from the different perspective, is you'll never, or nobody will ever be able to say they know conclusively what the algorithm's all about. So think of it as the search engines are really just trying to find the best match for somebody who's typing in a particular phrase. And are you doing everything you can to make that match be your website and your business?
Okay, guys, I know we're running low on time. I got one other one here I think is really good. So this is they're proposing as possibly myth number 13, myth or reality. All search marketers are created equal. Since there are so many people that are professing to be SEO experts, what would you suggest one can do to distinguish themselves amongst all of the clutter online? So I think the question is from the consumer's perspective. If you're looking for an SEO expert, how do you find somebody that is really quality?
I think you're going to want to see how they've done it for other businesses, maybe businesses like yours, and really how they tie in SEO to you achieving your business goals.
I agree with that. I mean, I think references are key. I think the other thing that you want to look for is some sense of what their credibility is. What makes you think they're credible, the same way that you would ask that question about anybody else you'd hire. The one last trick I would throw at you is you need at all costs to avoid hiring someone unethical, because they can use techniques that will hurt your search rankings for years after you've already gotten rid of them. And so what I propose to clients is to actually sometimes act as though you're looking for someone who is going to be unethical. So tell them, hey, I heard that there's all these tricky techniques that you need to use, and I need somebody who's really up on all of them. And if you get somebody like that, they will warm to that, and they will tell you all the clever stuff that they do. And at that point, you run screaming in the opposite direction and find somebody who will be talking you out of doing that and telling you that's not the way to do it. It's not going to work for you long term.
Okay, so the questions keep coming in. I know that we're running out of time, so I'm afraid I think we have to cut it off, and I hope that was enough questions for everyone. If there's any others that we can try to answer offline, we'll try to do that as well. Well, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thanks to Rob and Mike for these great ideas, and thanks especially to our audience for your participation and questions. If you have any questions that we did not have time to answer, you can email your questions to Eileen@MikeMoranGroup.com, and she'll be sure to get them to Rob or Mike for the answer. Later this week, we'll send you all links to the recording of the webinar to listen to again and to share with others. We also invite you to mark your calendars for our next Biznology webinar with Ruth Stevens, the building blocks of content marketing. How to plan your B2B content library, scheduled for 11 a.m. Eastern Time on October 22nd.